The world is an immense blue expanse covering 70% of our planet. But for all that open water, global civilization hangs by a few narrow threads. We call them choke points. A strait is a gift of nature. A canal is a feat of human defiance. Together, they are the arteries of the earth. If they flow, the world thrives. If they clog, as we saw when the Ever Given wedged itself into the banks of the Suez in 2021, global trade grinds to a staggering halt, costing the world economy nearly $10 billion a day. 90% of everything you own, the device in your hand, the clothes on your back, the fuel in your car, has passed through a choke point. Tonight, we explore the engineering marvels that defied nature and the natural gateways that dictate the fate of nations. We begin in the sands of Egypt. To understand the Suez Canal, you must first understand the long way round. Before 1869, if a merchant in London wanted to trade with a partner in Mumbai, their ship had to sail down the entire coast of Africa, brave the Cape of Storms at the Cape of Good Hope, and head back up into the Indian Ocean. It was a journey of over 12,000 miles that took months and claimed countless lives to the sea. But the ancients knew there was a better way. Even the pharaohs attempted to link the Nile to the Red Sea. It wasn't until the mid-19th century, however, that a French diplomat named Ferdinand de Lesseps pushed the limits of the industrial age. The construction of the Suez was a brutal, decade-long struggle against the desert. Tens of thousands of forced laborers, Egyptian peasants, dug the earth with their bare hands before steam-powered dredges took over. It wasn't just a canal, it was a 120-mile scar across the Isthmus of Suez. When the waters of the Mediterranean finally kissed the Red Sea, the world shrank overnight. The distance from Europe to Asia was slashed by 40%. Today, the Suez handles roughly 12% of all global trade. When it stops, the world stops. As ships exit the Suez and head south through the Red Sea, they meet the al-Mandab Strait, known as the Gate of Tears. This narrow passage between Yemen and Djibouti is the southern doorway to the Mediterranean shortcut. Only 18 miles wide at its narrowest point, it is the strategic link between the Horn of Africa and the Middle East. If the Suez is the heart of Euro-Asian trade, al-Mandab is the jugular. Any instability here forces ships to abandon the canal entirely and return to the treacherous, costly route around Africa. If Suez is a feat of digging, the Panama Canal is a masterpiece of hydraulics. The geography of Central America presented a nightmare that broke the French spirit. After their success in Suez, de Lesseps tried to dig a sea-level canal in Panama. He failed. The jungle fought back. Yellow fever and malaria killed over 20,000 workers, and mudslides buried machinery as fast as it could dig. When the Americans took over in 1904, they realized they couldn't fight the mountains. They had to go over them. Instead of digging down to sea level, engineers dammed the Chagres River to create Gatun Lake, a massive artificial body of water 26 meters above the ocean. To get ships there, they built the water elevators, the locks. Imagine a vessel weighing 150,000 tons. It enters a concrete chamber. Huge steel gates close behind it. Gravity, not pumps, but the simple flow of water from a lake, fills the chamber, lifting the ship like a toy in a bathtub. In 2016, the canal underwent a massive $5 billion expansion because ships were getting too big for the original 1914 locks. These Neo-Panamax ships can carry 14,000 containers. But Panama faces a new, silent threat: freshwater scarcity. Every ship that passes through the canal discharges 50 million gallons of freshwater into the ocean. With changing weather patterns and El Niño, the lake levels are dropping. In 2023 and 2024, the world saw the unthinkable. The Panama Canal had to limit the number of ships passing through. The bridge of the world is running out of water. Now, we move to the most politically charged piece of water on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. Located between Iran and Oman, this passage is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Through this tiny gap flows 20% of the world's total petroleum consumption. If you drive a car or fly in a plane, your fuel likely originated behind this gate. Unlike Panama or Suez, Hormuz is a natural strait, but its depth and narrowness force massive supertankers into a very tight, 2-mile-wide shipping lane. Hormuz is the ultimate security dilemma. Because of its importance, it is heavily militarized. It is a place where a single misunderstood naval maneuver can lead to an international crisis. For decades, it has been used as a tool of leverage. The threat of closing the strait is the ultimate economic weapon. If Hormuz were blocked, oil prices wouldn't just rise, they would double or triple, potentially triggering a global depression. It is the most sensitive hectare of water on the planet. Further east, we find the Suez of Asia, the Strait of Malacca. Running between the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian island of Sumatra, this is the main shipping channel between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. It is the primary route for energy heading to the economic powerhouses of China, Japan, and South Korea. Over 90,000 ships pass through here every year. It is a chaotic, crowded highway, essential for the survival of the modern global economy. We return to the Mediterranean to look at two ancient gates. First, the Strait of Gibraltar. It is the threshold between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, a place of incredible biological and political density, where the currents of two different seas collide and where Europe and Africa sit only 8 miles apart. Then, we look at the Bosporus in Turkey. It is the world's narrowest strait used for international navigation. It splits the city of Istanbul in two, one half in Europe, the other in Asia. Imagine navigating a 300-meter oil tanker through a winding river that runs through the heart of a city of 15 million people. The turns are so sharp that ships often lose sight of what's around the corner. It is a logistical nightmare and a beautiful, historic wonder. As our planet warms, the map of the world is being redrawn. For centuries, the Bering Strait, separating Russia from Alaska, was a frozen, remote outpost. But the melting of Arctic ice is opening the Northern Sea route. Russia and China are looking at this as the Polar Silk Road. A ship traveling from Shanghai to Hamburg via the Arctic could save 2 weeks compared to the Suez route. This is a seismic shift in global power. The Bering Strait, once a quiet passage for whales and indigenous hunters, is set to become the next great choke point of the 21st century. These straits and canals are the physical pulse of humanity. They represent our greatest triumphs of engineering and our most dangerous points of conflict.